Major wheat rally and the USDA surprising the market with a bigger corn production in the US. You are going to hear right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, you provided some estimates last week, and those estimates were not accurate, but you got closer than what many analysts brought on before. You estimated a slight decrease in production of corn in the US, but the United States Department of Agriculture came up with 39 million bushels more than previously thought.
Well, I think the interesting thing about the market's reaction is that uh, yes, the USDA came up with 39 million more bushels, but relatively speaking, it was only a modest change in the average U.S. yield, and also the fact that uh, in in the market scenario here at this point, it wasn't any surprising news that was out there. I still remain a little bit cautionary that the USDA's enumerators, which are really just setting up their plots and getting their feet wet out there during late August and September, about getting a sense of what the crop was. That we still could have some interesting adjustments. Now, do we expect the market to, or the USDA to take an adjustment down 2 or 3 bushels? Probably not. But at the same time, I was trying to also make sure people understood that that a lot of this big crop was in the market, and I think that's ultimately what happened when we had the data come out here from the USDA yesterday, I should say, or Thursday at this point. And so the market scenario here, it actually reacted negatively initially to the market. But on the soybean side, the other big factor or big crop that gets updated here in September, the USDA left their yield unchanged at 53.2. And when with a lot of people, including Pro Farmer, looking for a big jump in that number, that really was grabbed the people's attention because there's a lot of expectations that that might go up as much as a bushel or more. And when that didn't happen, it had a reaction to the upside, and that kind of countered the negativism of corn and its data that was released here in September. So one kind of counteracted the other, but in general here, I think the one big factor that's really grabbed the market's attention here is the fact that it's been significantly dry and it's been warm since the latter part of August, and for much of the Midwest. There's a few places that have got some rains in that, but particularly in the Eastern Corn Belt, things have not been good, and they're not anticipated to improve here much the balance of this month. So we've had some that is a kind of a negative trend for the U.S. corn and soybean yield prospects that maybe we're going to shave something off on our U.S. yields yet during the October crop report, which is now a month away.
Yes, and before that, we jump into that, we can talk about the wheat rally. What do you think was the major reason for this rally on Friday specifically?
Well, interestingly enough, the Ukrainians have, over the last 6 months or 8 months, have come up with a new way of moving their wheat out along the western edge of the Black Sea, along the international borders, international waters area of 12 to 15 miles offshore, and then interesting on Friday. a Russian plane ended up uh, hitting a Ukrainian wheat boat off the shore of Romania. And that definitely got everybody's attention and started the rally in wheat, which seasonally is tends to be stronger after the 1st of September when the U.S. crop is pretty well harvested, even the spring wheat. We didn't get any update on that, by the way, until till the small grain report at the end of the month. But that all being said, seasonally, that's it. And there's more and more attitudes about the crop size being determined. So that really put the wheat market into motion here. And we had some good short covering and that type of thing. And that really put the wheat market back into play here after being pretty well quiet here for the last few weeks.
Now, for the upcoming weeks, one of the things that is going to be watched is that the South American planting intentions. So, what do you see in that aspect?
Wow, there's a lot of different opinions about what's going to happen in Argentina. How are they going to adapt to last year's leafhopper numbers or issues, I should say, on that? The Argentinians and the exchanges down there are very cautious. They're indicating from 1.2 to as high as 1.7 or 8 million hectares being less in corn plantings because of that. Now, no one's really talked about that potentially going over to soybeans in a big way down there, but that is a factor too. But and so and both Argentine and Brazil are both under the uh, dry conditions that sometimes can occur as you in late winter, early spring in their part of the world, and that's really, I think, is another big factor in here that has got people concerned about what's going to happen with South American plantings. Right now, the projection, even in out of Brazil, is that they're going to be less than 1% increase in soybean plantings, which would be the lowest in 17 or 18 years. That would definitely grab the would be an important factor here on output of South America. Now, some of that could be compensated by Argentina, but the interesting twist about all this is that the USDA's Foreign Agriculture Service and the USDA's World Board did not make any adjustments in their upcoming crop size for either country. Now, of note, they did end up taking down Argentine's crop by 900,000 and increased Paraguay by 500,000 metric tons. So we have some minor changes in the outputs for corn in South America, but an old crop, but nothing on new crop. They left both of them at their previous projections of on both corn and soybeans down there for Argentina and and corn and soybeans, and same in Brazil. So right now, I guess the USDA is taking a wait and see attitude about that, but there could be some adjustments. But right now, at least, the markets will be watching South America and see how their weather proceeds. Because right now, we're here in the middle of September, and sometimes we had plantings also already aggressively going on in Brazil, and it seems like they're pretty quiet on that, on soybeans for sure. Uh, there was, I think, some corn plantings in Argentina being reported from there. But it's not going to grab a lot of attention until we get into October. But right now, that forecast is definitely projecting dryness to continue and that will be watched. That there is some clouds on the forecast for the end of next week, this coming week, I should say, and so that could be a factor to dampen some of the enthusiasm in the markets. But right now, the South American outlook is a little dicey here. We need to start to get some of these crops planted down there, and it doesn't look very positive right now.
Now, with the USDA September report in the rear mirror, what do you think is going to happen in the US and the markets for the coming week, now that that there's going to a new update is going to be needed?
Oh, well, I think in the coming week, our first, we're going to see what how things start to develop in this whole wheat situation, which popped up on Friday, and that to some extent, the world is going to be watching to see if Ukraine ups the ante here and takes some of the response back to Russia that would escalate this the Black Sea issues out there at this point. The Ukrainians' invasion of Russia has been a factor in here, and now this is the Russians' approach of taking out a boat down there is definitely getting things interesting. That could have a big factor, and have a big factor in wheat at this point. The U.S. Plantings at this point, it, I kind of feel it's kind of a mixed bag if we're going to have. I think there's going to be some increases in U.S. wheat plantings, but I don't think it's going to be a big jump at this point from there, unless this price point really gets rolling here. If from that standpoint, the market activity here in the wheat market probably needs to get above the $6 area for the big change in U.S. plantings. On to the corn and soybeans, they're going to continue to watch the U.S. weather here and also what's going on with our yields. And that definitely the yields we got here this last month, we did see Illinois, both corn and soybeans take a little bit of a decline, which makes some sense. They were quite aggressive from the USDA and their satellite expectations, but we did see some of the Iowa numbers go up. Interestingly enough, the Eastern Corn Belt yields, because of the adjustment of 3 bushels there in Illinois, were lower on corn, while the Western Corn Belt didn't have many changes, and Iowa's number was up a couple bushels. So that region was up, which Eastern Iowa and parts of Minnesota have got some pretty good rains over the last few weeks, but I don't know how strong it was out in the Plain states. That could be a factor going forward too. But overall, that's going to be watched closely, along, of course, with what's going on in South America right now and the trends that we might see on pre-planning weather down there. Overall, I think this market's going to be quite sensitive to the weather forecasts out here, because interestingly enough, in the month of August and September, late dryness can also shrink the size of the seeds on both corn and soybeans on things as we go forward. Now, the interesting twist that popped up in it, it might have been part of the reason why some of these markets were a little firmer late in the session on Thursday, was the USDA's ear counts and pod numbers that they released on Thursday, along with their yields. The U.S. corn ear counts average for the U.S. was actually down 450 average per acre type situation to a number below 29,000. which was kind of a twist. A lot of people, and myself included, anticipated with some of the ear counts we were seeing that ear count might be up, and it wasn't. I think that's a telling sign. And also in the soybeans, after the pro farmer tour, and that and what they came up with their pod numbers being up sharply in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, or excuse me, Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa, that number might be up, but it was actually I think down 9 pods per acre, and so that's an interesting twist. Now we seasonally do see some slight increases on those numbers as we go through October and maybe into early November. But with the fact that they did not see significant increases last year, I think that's something that I think the market's going to really be watching going forward. But and how that might impact our U.S. yields. But weather, both in South America and in the U.S. In the near term will probably be the big factor going forward. Also, the other twist in this thing is one last thing is that the corn and soybeans are close to some of their 50-day moving averages. So if we move up 10 or 15 cents on beans and a dime on corn, we could find some more uh, short covering in the new crop prices here. So this market's going to be quite sensitive, as I say, to the weather. If it doesn't get them encouraging, this could create more short covering in both the corn and soybean markets, which would be something to keep an eye on. I think that's something that would be something to utilize as a price opportunity if we had a sharp rally on weather next week.
All right, we'll check and hope that the USDA does not bring any new wild card. Thank you, Jerry.
That's true. Have a good weekend.